Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and it's Martial Monday once again. We have covered all of the fighting styles. So now we're moving on into martial classes, or subclasses, rather. And we're going to start off with Arcane Archer, which is a fighter subclass, is it not?
Indeed.
Yes.
Somewhat maligned. It is in a class that's got all the martial proficiencies under the sun, the class that has action surge and a billion of attacks coming down the road. Base fighter is a machine at attacking over and over again. It's kind of all it does. So normally they look to subclasses to kind of like give them ways to spice that up a little bit. And Arcane Archer's way that they spice that up a little bit is they say, use your bow and you get like 2 shots. And that's like not great, but it is potentially quite cool. I think if you want to take this option, I would talk to GM about getting ways to get more shots at a given moment, because like with how it's gated, it's tricky to have this option feel satisfying or like that frequent to use, especially if you compare it to like something like Battle Master, where they just get 4 to 5, just tons of dice per short rest, getting back over and over again, tripping, doing all kinds of cool wacky stuff. This should be wackier and cooler than it is, but it isn't the worst thing in the human history if you wanted to try and play it.
Well, what do you mean 2 shots?
Okay, so the Arcane Shot feature lets you once per turn when you fire an arrow with a short bow or long bow, as part of the target action, you can apply one of your arcane shots. You have 2 uses of this ability. You can back up them on a short rest. You gain an additional arcane shot option of your choice at 7th, 10th, 15th, and 18th level. And no other shots throughout the rest of the game. So you always will be stuck on 2 short rest arcane shots per however long you play. If you're a 13th level character, it's still 15th level, you get ever ready shot, which gives you a free arcane shot when an encounter starts. But like up until 15th level, if you go through 3 encounters in a short rest, you have to pick 2 arrows to use in either of those 3, any of those 3 fights total, which is not a lot. Which is like you can burn through both those on a single turn.
Do you still get your like extra attacks as a
regular
still
a base fighter.
Right. Okay.
But you're like your special extra stuff. No.
2 special shots then.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other really big downer is the only time the damage on any of the arcane shots upgrades is 18th level, which means from 3 to 18, they're doing the exact same damage they were at 3rd level, which is how we say garbage. Trash. Awful. Yeah, it's not ideal. That's where like the predominant issue with it comes. But they do other things too. So they have like Arcane Archer lore, which gives you some free proficiencies, which is pretty neat. And fighters don't have a ton of them. So where rogues, I think, can sometimes rogues and bards kind of can get overkill in their skills department, where you don't need 9 skills. Going from 4 to 6 is a pretty meaningful upside where you go, okay, I now feel like a skilled expert. I feel like I've got more things to do with stuff. You also get like prestidigitation or druidcraft, which is also pretty cool. I'm sorry, it's not both. It's Arcana or Nature. So you get 1 extra skill. That's still fine. They're not like raving or rooting skills, but they're fine. I love getting a cosmetic cantrip like this attached to a skill. I think that's a beautiful way to say this is a meaningful upgrade and a cute little way to make your character feel and fit in flavorfully better with the world. And this is exactly where cosmetic cantrips kind of belong. And then we can like touch on, so I talked about what Arcane Shot does. There are a bunch of arrows, and when I say a bunch of arrows, less than I think there should be, which is disappointing because there are a ton. There's banishing, beguiling, bursting, enfeebling, grasping, piercing, and seeking and shadow arrows. Ooh, most of which do 2d6 bonus damage on hit, and then some other effect. So like shadow arrow, it does 2d6 extra damage on hit, the target makes a whiz save, and it can't see farther than 5 feet away from it until the start of your next turn. That's if it fails the save. Most of these have some kind of effect like that. Seeking, I think, is one that kind of like lets it fly towards a creature moving around corners and stuff, which is pretty neat. Like a Hawkeye trick shot. You've got piercing that like goes, instead the arrow flies in a line, which damages things in a line, which is pretty cool. Passing harmlessly through objects. Each creature in that line makes a dex save, taking the damages that were hit by the arrow plus extra d6 piercing damage. I think that's like the coolest version of this, and should be the baseline that like these build off of, right? Having the ability to say, okay, I line up 4 of those things, get a shot on all of those, and then you can, make a different attack roll for your next attack roll, because this is part of the attack action. This is an attack you're replacing. That's pretty cool. Piercing is pretty sweet. We got grasping, which is like a restraint for a round. The restraint, so its speed reduced by 10, takes 2d6 slashing damage, and on its turn, each time it moves 1 foot or more without teleporting, which is pretty cool. It doesn't do any damage on. Oh, it does do 2 extra 2d6 damage on it. Grasping seems pretty fine. There's Enfeebling, which halves the next damage it deals, which is cool.
Yeah.
A weapon attack that deals on target turn is cool. Bursting Arrows, area effect 2d6. It's pretty bad comparatively to the rest of them. I think the line one is cooler because at least it scales with the sharpshooter and stuff. They have Beguiling Arrow, which is Wiz Save or Charm, which is cool. And then you got Banishing, which is a temporary banishment. When its banished away, speed becomes 0, and it is incapacitated at the start of your end of its next turn, it reappears, which is worse than banishment, but still pretty good. It's a nice option to have. All these can be kind of cool. Only getting 2 of them and having them never scale is a sin.
Yeah, of the options, I think I like Grasping Arrow the best.
It's cool. It 2d6 bonus damage whenever it moves, or 2d6 bonus damage on hit. If it moves willingly, 2d6 slashing damage. You just like things that involve movement for some reason.
Yeah, I guess some sadistic part of my nature that likes giving these creatures a choice. Like you can move, but it's gonna hurt, or you can stay there
and spend an action removing it. Right? They can do that, or something else can do that. I don't know, it's neat.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't admit to that.
No, I don't. I think the option is entirely reasonable. I think it's a perfectly reasonable. It at minimum is going to eat an action or prevent something from moving, as long as I'm doing bonus 2d6 damage. The fundamental issue with all of this is none of these are so much better than martial maneuvers for the Battlemaster class that they should be this infrequent. And I think that's the capital sin this commits, is where we already had a perfectly great design philosophy for the Battlemaster fighter, for martial maneuvers. This not being a magical version of that for bows is baffling to me. This not having scaling damage dice is baffling to me. This not having more uses as you progress seems really stupid, and like that shouldn't occur. Magic Arrow is like the 7th level feature. Whenever you fire a non-magical arrow, you can make it magical, which is a non-feature. And then you have Curving Shot, which is you learn how to direct an errant arrow to a new target. Whenever you make an attack roll with a magic arrow miss, you can bonus action to reroll it against a different thing within 60 feet. That's super sweet. So that's kind of cool. But like, none of this, I don't think, is a good enough improvement to where you're going to be able to fire out Bursting Arrow that explodes on 1 round, another arrow that pierces through them all, a Grasping Arrow the round after that. Like, I want to do the Arcane Shot thing a lot, and this option just fundamentally doesn't give you that. So despite like how cool a lot of the stuff is, despite how fundamentally there's a lot of interesting ideas here, ultimately I think if you want to play an Arcane Archer, I would highly recommend playing like Battlemaster Fighter or Blade Singer or a different kind of Gish Martial Caster hybrid. Even like Ranger, I think, is going to do the Arcane Archer fantasy better than this, because they can at least choose to willingly use Conjure Volley and what's the other one? Volley, Hail of Thorns and Hunter's Mark to get the kind of same feeling there, right?
Ranger already kind of feels like, if you tell me just without knowing anything, Arcane Archer. Oh yeah, isn't that what a Ranger is?
Yeah.
But all right, so we might as well keep going down the list. 7th level, we got a Magic Arrow and Curving Shot. Yeah, Curving Shot sounds cool, but again, like you said, it's not something I'm really excited to play this subclass for. However, if I was forced to play this subclass, I think I'd have a lot of fun with it.
I 100% think that like it'll feel good to use. And it's not necessarily something you're like, oh, I'm playing this character to eventually get a Curving Shot, because it doesn't feel that fantastical where like Seeking Arrow goes around corners and stuff. That is just kind of like I can reroll a miss. That's pretty good. Like, it's mechanically powerful, especially on a lot of ranged characters like this don't tend to have a great place to put their bonus action on fighter. Like the vanilla champion archer fighter doesn't really have a bonus action beyond second wind. They're just like, if you're going down the line 20 in fighter, you're just taking 2 shots and go, well, I got no bonus action, so I guess I pass. This is a way to use that. That's pretty great. I think that's a giant meaningful upside that this class doesn't take advantage of. So it's a real reason to be like, that's great. This is a good option within the feature. And then Ever Ready Shot being the 15th level option encourages you to Nova, and encourages you just every combat use both of them, because you'll get 1 back every combat after that. And like that,
whoa. Slow down. What do we get at 10th level?
Nothing.
Yeah, yeah. You've got a big section on that in the written thing. 10th level, no new features.
I genuinely thought it was an error. And like I'm on the wiki looking at it and I'm like, yeah, there's no 10th level feature here. And maybe the wiki's wrong. Maybe Curving Shot is the 10th level feature, Magic Arrow is the 7th, and they misnumbered it or something. I couldn't find any 10th level feature here, which is a mistake. It should be a mistake. I guess so. What they technically get is you get an additional Arcane Shot choice whenever you reach 10th level. So like you get to learn another one of these at 10th level, and that's not a whole feature. That's just not a feature. That's baked into the first feature. That isn't an expansion. That's just a thing that happens, and you don't get it. Oh yeah, I thank you for reminding me about there's no 10th level feature here because there's supposed to be and there isn't.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, so back to the Ever Ready Shot.
Yeah, Ever Ready Shot
15th
is
level.
Yeah, this is like you actually can start firing those off once per fight. Which listen. If I've been playing a character for 15 levels and I can't use my subclass features more than one a fight until this point, I don't want to be in that subclass. And that's the reality of this, right? So like, yeah, that's a massive boon, but it's like doubling on it. If you're in the scope of numbers 1 to 100, this is doubling a 1 to a 2, not doubling like a 20 to a 40, right? This isn't a gigantic numerical boost. This is just you now can do it once each combat, as opposed to, on your, again, 3+ shots you're firing around, right? You're firing off 12, 15, 18 arrows a fight, and this goes great. One of them gets to be magical each fight, and that's just...
Yeah, these
that's
aren't
disappointing.
Like super amazing effects. Look, they could have been a little more generous with how much you get to use them.
Also, this is the issue with them not scaling, right? So out the gate, some of these are backbreakingly powerful, right? Even Bursting Arrow, which is the 2d6 force damage to everything in an area, at 3rd level, that's just like 2 explosions on hit. 2 free uses of Burning Hands is kind of like an equivalent to it, and that's great. So on Short Rest Recharge, love that. It's awful at 7th level, and that's still all you have, right? All you have at 7th level still is 2 Burning Hands, and then at 15th level, it's a joke, right? You go, oh great, I can tickle 3 of the trolls. Huzzah. I'm just going to lay into one of them with Sharpshooter and ignore this feature because it doesn't do anything meaningful here, right? That's where like Piercing is the best because it actually scales because things take the damage. The problem is, I say it worked with Sharpshooter. I don't think it does because you're not making an attack roll, so you can't have the 10 damage to a non-attack roll, which is a bummer. So you have to find other ways to empower your arrows, like Flame Arrows. That's a spell. Fire Arrows?
Yes.
One of those
Flame Arrows.
Yeah. That'll empower it. Holy Weapon should empower it too, where the arrow doing more damage means this can work with it, I believe. I might be wrong. This is a lot of text, and we're definitely we've read it, and I've done a review on it, but so many words, this game's complicated. So, do my best here. But for the whole scope of it, there's a distinct lack of scaling that makes every one of the options feel pretty absurd out the gate, get a lot worse as the game goes on, and then just double their efficiency at 18th level to be like, why haven't I had that at 7th? They could have said at 7th, 10th, 15th, and 18th level, all these do a bonus d6 damage. I'd be like, okay, at least they all scale. But they waited till 18th level to give it 2 d6s. And I'm like, why is this so bad?
Oh, all right. Well, yeah.
If you want to play an Arcane Archer, I would recommend aiming to have a short rest before every encounter if that's an option. And that's kind of the fighter shtick, right? You want to use your features, your action surge, your second winds. Trying to get short rest then is going to be important. The other thing I would recommend is talk to your DM about getting a 3rd or 4th die at some point, because it's being stuck on 2 feels like a mistake. Additionally, if I'm DMing this, I'm just giving you the whole list out the gate. You can just pick, because you only get 2 shots anyway. You might as well have the pick of of these 9 features, just to be able to use whatever ones you like. I genuinely think this option could use a lot of benefit and could be really fun to play if it was just moderately better. Where it is now, I would never play this because of how abhorrent it is in a rules written table. I don't think I would recommend players that are going into with a new DM or even a moderately experienced DM that doesn't feel comfortable mixing around and messing with these features. I would steer clear of this, especially if you want to intend to go the full course, just because nothing really quite satisfies the explosive arrow fantasy, the Hawkeye fantasy. This doesn't do it that great. The 7th level curve shot is probably the best it gets. After that, I'm 2 per fight at best. Still isn't really a lot, nor is it really a compelling reason to do the Arcane Archer thing. For now, you kind of have to just hope they update this majorly in the next edition.
Yeah, just the way you get two per fight, and that's when you get high enough level. But how many arrows
No-
total are you shooting? What?
It's 1 per fight at higher levels. I'm saying
one
if you
per
get
fight.
the
I'm sorry,
benefit
I'm
of
sorry,
short
yeah.
resting between all of them, it's 2 per
Right.
fight,
Right.
which is definitely not given.
So, I mean, how many arrows total are you firing in a fight? That's
Okay. So 5th level fighters, every round are shooting 2 because they have extra attack.
Okay.
11th level fighters are firing 3 because they have extra attack. And 18th or 20th level fighters are firing 4 a round because they have extra attack. And when only one of them can be magical, or 2 of them can be magical, you literally, by 5th level, can spend 1 turn, use all of your resources. But like, whenever Paladin uses all their resources, they do billions of damage. Whenever you use all your resources, you do 46 bonus. And that's like...
This doesn't feel, I mean, this doesn't
Not even
feel like
close.
you're playing a subclass.
Yeah. Again, you could take all the martial maneuver dice. That's 5d8's worth of dice. 4 or 5d8. I think it's 48 worth of dice. You can get more of them if you want more of them. And 4 is double this. They all do unique, interesting things. They aren't as high impact as these are. They are slightly lower impact. But they also all scale. And they also are in a subclass that feels a lot more cohesive to play. Having options and flexibility to, get extra attacks, disarm people, draw people prone, trip enemies. There's lots of cool things Battlemaster can do that I would want a fighter character to do that work with ranged characters too. This is like agnostic of archetype. This is exclusively to archer-based characters. Battlemaster can do the archer thing, can do a lot of the Arcane Archer feeling stuff where you're doing arrows that do wacky, wild, cool things, but it also has double the resource pool, gives you more opportunities to use and care about the effects. This feels needlessly hamstrung and horribly designed.
This is like 75% to 90% of the time, you're not going to be able to use any of this crap.
Yeah. Whenever the majority of your attacks you're making, you can't even consider using this, it's gotta be a problem.
Well, color me unimpressed.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, I guess, anything else you want to say about this?
Do we want to rate these?
Yeah. I think definitely we need to rate these. And
Kind of want to give them grades as opposed to 1 out of 5s. But
okay, well,
we could shake things up. I like shaking things up.
shake it up then.
Let's give it a D. I think this is not quite failing because there are some subclasses that fail in this game to function at all. This is not non-functional. It's just really, really, really bad. And with a little bit of help, it can be a blast to play. There is a lot of good ideas here. This could have used just like 3 more months of playtesting and players going, why can't I keep shooting my magical shots? And I think this would have been entirely reasonable.
All right. Well, be that as it may, I'm not grading this on what it could have been. Maybe there are worse things, but there are also lower Fs. I'm giving it an F. But maybe this is like, a 50 F rather than a 30 F, but it's still.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to for us doing a tier list at the end of this where we just go through and say what were our rankings, and we can be like, this is where we're mental fighter subclasses. That could be fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that was Arcane Archer. Let us know what you think. Perhaps you have a different opinion. Maybe you love the Arcane Archer. Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.